What's up everybody, we're back with another video. Before we get into today's video, you guys know the drill. Please go ahead, leave a like, subscribe, and ding the notification bell so you guys get notified when new videos come out. And be sure to follow me on Instagram where you guys can keep up to date with what's going on in the fish room. So, in today's video, I want to kind of explain to you the importance of good filtration. I know I've done this before, but how you can improve your filtration on the cheap. The reason why I don't do big feedings all the time is because it impacts your water quality, which is also to do with your filtration. So let's quickly start with that. So I usually feed this tank every other day. I feed it a mixture of floating and sinking pellets with some algae wafers for the paku, and occasionally I will feed it mussels, prawns, as well as some pellets, just so that the fish get a balanced diet, as well as it's also fun to kind of feed them meatier foods. You know, you can hold them in your hands, and like I did a video on Instagram where I was feeding the arowana, kind of bit me, but you know, it was quite fun to do that whole live interaction experience with your fish, and it's just one of the aspects of the hobby that people enjoy. So the reason why I do it every other day feeding is just so that your filter, your water doesn't get, so your water quality just doesn't become poorer. If you feed loads of food, first two things are going to happen. One, the uneaten food, if you overfeed, is going to get stuck in your filtration, and that's going to break down and cause ammonia spikes, and your pH and your balance, your chemistry is kind of going to fluctuate. Second thing is, you feed more, you're going to get more waste. So you're going to be increasing the amount of waste that your biological media that has to filter through. Now, I don't really have to worry about it so much with this tank. That's because I did the calculation. I think this is like 4 times the amount of filtering capacity than is actually required on this aquarium. But it's always good just to kind of give your filter some time to actually run the water through and actually make sure that it's clean before you go ahead and add more work on top of it. Another reason why I stagger the amount of feeding is because at the moment I can't, well, the moment I'm not doing large water changes, I'm doing 20-25%, usually I'll do 30-35%, and that's just because the water that I get that comes out of the well or from my hose is really, really cold, and it drops the temperature in this tank anywhere from 5 to 7 degrees if I go over 25%, and I'm trying to keep it within about 3 degrees, you know, maximum 5 degrees drop, just because I don't want the fish to go into shock, and I don't want it to really, because this is an aggressive tank, sometimes fish will get picked on, they won't really be so happy, and when they're feeling a bit down, if you put them through that much amount of stress, they can then develop certain symptoms, such as ick, or, you know, they might start having sores that you see pop up, or, you know, it's just things that you don't want, and they become susceptible to disease, and you don't want that to happen. So that's why I reduce feeding, so I don't have to do such big water changes, which just benefits my fish. Now, obviously you have all your filters and everything like that, and filters aren't cheap. You can get them cheap, you can DIY them, but sometimes you just don't have enough time. So I've said this plenty of times, the best thing to do is get plants. The reason why is plants just aid with sucking up all that rubbish that's in your water. And the best thing about plants compared to a regular old filter is that a plant will grow over time, and as it grows, the amount that it can filter also increases. Now, obviously there are no plants in this tank, and I'm going to address that in a second. But quickly going back to they grow over time, they're also relatively cheap. That's the good thing, and it doesn't have to be specifically aquarium plants, which leads me to obviously what's filtering this aquarium. So I can't have plants in this aquarium for several reasons. One, I have my paku. My paku being the biggest reason I can't have all these plants. He will eat them, she will eat them. Then I have tinfoil barbs. Again, they will eat the plants. Oscars, I think, will, because they like to dig in substrate. Obviously with plants you have to have some substrate, not always, but most of the time you will, and they will start to dig them out, and I'm just not convinced that all the fish in here are plant friendly. I'm pretty sure the only fish that is plant friendly is the arowana, and that's because he swims up at the surface, the plants are usually on the bottom, no worries there. But the issue when you have plants is you have to do a couple of things. You have to have CO2 injection, you have to have, you know, your lightings come on for a certain amount of time, and sometimes you'll have to add nutrients to the water. That's specifically for planted tanks, and obviously that's if you want to grow them really well. I don't bother with any of that. I don't do any of that on this tank. All I've done is simply, I've taken this filter down here, I have got the outlet of the hose running into this plant tray, and simply I let that kind of sit in here and the water drains out back down through there, and as you can see it's bubbling over. So let's see what I'm actually working with. So as you can see, I've got a 4-foot light here, I've got, I think that's a 2-foot light over there, and I've got a 2-foot light up here. Now, between having 1 and 2 on versus just this works out to be a lot more economic, and as you can see, it's doing really well. I've also got a really fat moss ball in here, which I love, and I've got some, I can't remember the name of this bamboo, but it's a type of bamboo plant that grows in here. So I've also got some biological media, these ceramic rings, and when I first got this plant was not that big. It's a regular pothos plant. They don't really sell them very large, you know, it's probably yay big, and it's grown, and I've only had it since summertime, so it's been a couple of months, but it's really grown well. And as you can see, there are these little danglies there, and there, that's it. Those are the roots. So if you were to cut those stems and put them in water, you'd be able to propagate this plant, and you'd get another plant in a couple of months to a year that's about this big. So that's the really cool thing about pothos especially. There are other sorts of plants you can do. It depends on the aesthetic you want to go for. The reason I chose pothos is because it's just got the best filtration capacity, and it grows quite quickly. And the thing is, it's a vine, so eventually what I want it to do, let me step back down, is obviously you can see that there's a PVC pipings all over here. I want the pothos to kind of wrap all around here. Obviously this isn't the most efficient system I've got going at the moment, because the only filtration is going to be whatever's in there, in that tray. Anything else outside is more aesthetic than filtration. So some people, what they do, and this is probably what I'm going to do when I get a bigger aquarium, is I'm going to probably lay the tray directly in the water, drill some hole in so the roots can actually go into the water and kind of take over a side or a corner and kind of spread out. That's what I would like it to do. The reason I haven't done that at the moment is just because I'm not too sure of the logistics with trying to sit that here and making this more unsightly, whereas if I build my own aquarium, it's a bit different. I can actually customize it the way I want to, so I can fit 2 or 3 trays in, have a pothos plant or 2, and then put the filter in. Now, easiest thing to do is, so you get some hosing like this. You can get an internal pump, and you can hook it up. You can drill a hole into the back side, or you can do what I did, get these zip ties and zip tie it in place, and then you just drill another hole on the other end. The hole has to be slightly smaller than the actual pipe itself, just so that it has a really snug fit and there's no chance of it falling out, and the water will basically just overflow into here, and it's just an extra bit of filtration. Obviously you can do what I've done, you can customize it, and you can add filter media into the bottom, or you can add whatever plants you want to, and it just helps you to filter more water out. And it's pretty cheap. Like I've said, you know, this is a couple of pounds, the plants are a couple of pounds, you know, even without the filter media, you can go and get lava rock, which is another couple of pounds. You know, you're looking at less than 20 pounds, and then maybe like a 10-pound pump. So 30 pounds, 35 pounds for the pump I had was like 500 liters an hour. So you can run a decent sized tank. In fact, with that system alone, I could probably run this tank. This tank is 200 liters and it's not all the way full up because of the arowana. If I really wanted to, I wouldn't need the canister filter at the back or the sponge filter. I could simply run it on the planted tank the plants and it would be completely fine. The reason I haven't done that just yet is because I've been putting it off for so long to go ahead and get another tray like that, but I will do that for this aquarium. I will go ahead, get another tray, and what you're doing is you're increasing your filtration capacity without actually increasing your electricity bill, for example. So this is just a way for people to come and cost save and just improve your filtration. It's always good to have plants in your tank. It's, again, natural as much as it can be, and it always helps out. Now, if you can see, there is Pothos there, there's Pothos there. I cut these around about 2 weeks ago, and you will see how quick it is to get the roots to start growing. So at the back, you can see, I'll probably put an arrow to it because the bubbles are in the way. You can see the roots slowly starting to take off. I cut both of these off on the same day. I put them in on the same day. And let me quickly show you this one over here. Look at that. This has so many roots coming out of it. It's got 1, 2, 3, I think there's 4, 5 roots. So yeah, it's not the easiest thing to see. And I cut them off this plant. So, you know, you buy this plant one time. This plant, it was about this size actually when I got it. If I move this out of the way without breaking it. I bought it about this size, maybe a bit smaller actually if you were to cut this off. That was how much I got. And this was pretty much what it grew into in 6 months, with some stems on this side kind of getting squashed in the corner, which is what I decided to cut off and propagate in the other aquarium. So it's fairly cheap and it's fairly effective. It pretty much propagates on its own. You don't really need to do anything. You just need to make sure that there's enough nutrients in the water. And now what I can do is I can go ahead, get another one of these, drill a couple of holes in it and plop them in, and it'll be fine. They'll start growing and they'll one day end up like this, and probably back into the back in the garage they'll probably end up more like that, a lot bigger, because these guys get watered once a week. So they only get the amount of nutrition that I give them once a week during water changes, whereas the guys in the garden get 700 liters an hour. They're getting an entire tank's worth of water every hour. So those guys are in no sort of worry. And this is pretty much what I've done, is got one here, let them grow out. You know, it's aesthetic mainly. The reason why I got these in the first place, you know, I bought the other ones down for the actual filtration capacity, but now that they're starting to overgrow, start clipping them, start propagating them, and then they can go into loads of aquariums. And the best thing is obviously if they go into aquariums like the one with the paku or any other fish that likes to eat plants, you don't have to worry, because you can just put them in one of these and hook up your filter to it without much effort. So yeah. So this is a project I've been working on for a couple of months with the Pothos up at the top of the tank, and I just wanted to show you guys how it's coming along, and kind of just bring you guys along with the fact that I'm going to do that for the smaller tank as well. And just for anybody out there who wants to add plants to their aquarium and they can't, there is another way. If you want to add plants to your aquarium because of the, you know, the filtering potential it has, this is the best way you can do it. There might be other ways that are even better, but you don't have to worry about any damage coming to your plants. I know some people have a worry that if they float the plants on the top, where only the roots are in the water, then the fish will eat the roots and kill the plants. So this way you don't have to worry about any of that. And you know, it might add to the aesthetic of the tank. So hopefully what I'm wanting, you know, this entire thing to be covered in Pothos is going to look more like a jungle effect, and hopefully it'll make this tank look a lot less blank, because it does look a bit bare. I did add some rocks in for characteristic, but it's not a big tank for the size of fish that are in here. They will be getting an upgrade. They need an upgrade because these guys are huge, especially the paku. The paku isn't only just long, he's tall, he's getting wide, so he takes up a lot of space, which means I can't put a lot of decorations in at the moment because obviously he needs the swimming space. So I hope you guys have enjoyed today's video. I'm leaning down because I decided not to sit. I moved the stool when I had to get up. But I hope you guys have enjoyed today's video. I hope you guys are all keeping safe, and as always, peace out.